Hello, my name is Emily Chagoya. This is for Sociology 323, Marriage and Family. Our topic of discussion for this presentation is parenthood and raising children. The chapters that we read for this week, not today, were chapter 8 and 9, which discussed parenthood and children. So, our first question was, what factors need to be considered when deciding whether to parent or not? So, one thing I've noticed within the readings and lectures uh, was that children, or even having a child, is considered a privilege. And this is due to the expenses that's attached to having a child from birth or even before birth. But so I would say before birth all the way to the age of, or yes, the age of 18. I believe on page 196 as well, it discusses that an American child or American family, just one child costs about $233,000, and this doesn't include their college tuition. So going with that, I think a parent also needs to consider childcare, schooling when they're young, such as private or public, and then the additional cost of just living. So the cost of living, rent, bills, food, etc., um, which gets expensive, especially with everything that's going on currently in the states. Just seeing the changes. Um, Another would be considering the effects that a child has on a marriage or a partnership. And I say partnership due to our previous readings of not many getting married but cohabitating. Um, and I say this due to knowing some families who think that children are going to save marriage, but in our readings, in our textbook, excuse me, it says on page 197 that children can either stabilize or decrease the quality of marriage, and those are the effects. And then in an article regarding technology by Skavosk, I'm butchering the name, but I will have it in the last slide. It talks about electronic devices being a benefit to the parents, but an addictive, having an addictiveness to the children. And it went on to say that some parents view electronic devices as a way to either babysit or be a nanny to their children. But I think the other thing of when you decide to become a parent is considering how proactive you're going to be in your child's life. And we had discussed about the different parenting styles, and I think when a parent decides to continue the usage or not limit the usage of an electronic device, it's being neglectful to their well-being, and I would say their future, such as like their speech, the way that they interact with people, as many have seen that there's studies coming out with in regards to these kids that are on tablets or on cell phones. So moving on to our second question, which is, how have the trends in parenthood changed? So trends in parenthood have changed. Earlier, having children was considered an economic benefit because they had more hands and more people, which meant they had more income going into the family, whereas now that's not really seen. The other thing with parenthood would be many people were having children in their early 20s, and now as time goes on and people consider whom they want to procreate with or who they don't want to procreate with, many are having children within their 30s and even later. Then we also see that parenthood is changing, such as many parents or people, excuse me, people are considering uh, their pets to be their children. And with parenthood changing, we see that many adults are considering voluntary childlessness. And this is due to the economy and life expenses. And more people are choosing not to have children because, in my opinion, it goes back to children or having a child being a privilege, as in they are expensive. And in a way, you will always be a parent, or someone who is a parent will be a parent for the rest of their lives. But I would say you also see that with many people taking a while to adult. Um, the other trend that has changed would be the sense of a traditional family. Families today are either not married, so we see non-marital births, or see single women, or we see women choosing to be single mothers, as well as fathers doing the same. And there are still studies happening between same sex parents, so that is still being considered as a topic to study. So there isn't much, is what I'm trying to say. So, in an article called Modern Parenthood as a Subject of Research, it says that parenthood is going through radical changes. This radical change is a result of adults delaying their adulthood, marriage, and they're unprepared. And I feel like this unpreparedness also ties with the previous article I spoke about with electronics, due to some parents not feeling prepared, so they decide to put a device in front of them, or they just choose to take a while because they aren't ready for it. The other thing about parenthood is, I believe previously we have seen many people wanting to have large families, and now they are downsizing. So, our next question is, what are some advantages in parenting in the 20th century? So, I do feel as though I have been speaking negatively about it, especially with the article. Um, Electronic devices are beneficial, but I do think screen time needs to be limited, and that helps parents out with educating their kids. Um, Another positive benefit for a parent today would be that um, the effects of having a child, excuse me, or children, as they become older, the parent becomes someone who is supportive and gives practical guidance and emotional support, as well as a positive attitude to the child's life. The other thing would be their lineage continues, as they may see it as a benefit to them. Um, the next would be parents seem to have inspiration to overcome and provide for what seems like their source being their children. They feel as though they have more purpose in their life. And lastly, parenthood. They, even though I feel like this was a bit a negative, I think it's also a positive in that parents exaggerate to themselves the joys of parenthood. And this allows them to get through, I would say, their difficulties, and through whenever they feel as though life seems a bit purposeless. And the last question was, what are some challenges with parenting today? Um, in the article by Polovanova in Modern Parenthood as a Subject of Research, it states that there's some difficulties, such as like beliefs and responsibilities within parenthood. The other would be the ideas of how parenthood should go, such as mothers who do receive IVF. eh, it said that through pages 336 to 340, that these parents that do go through IVF have unrealistic expectations. The next article, which is in the center, I don't want to butcher their names, but it talked about addictive. Uh, the article was addictive for children and helpful for parents. It discussed electronic devices and the non human factor in a family relationship and how these devices play out through their family. Um, and it ties in with parenthood, such as parents no longer have to entertain their child or be with their child, so they rely on these devices to distract their children so that they could do whatever that they need to do or they feel is necessary. Um, and lastly, our textbook seems to state that agreements or states in agreements that parenthood is changing and that becoming a single parent is more common, as well as expenses of a child are a lot, and it is a lifetime job. So thank you for listening. Here are the references. The two articles that I got are from the Annie Gay Roll Library. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day or night.